Welcome to Chris BI. My name is Chris Wagner, and today we're going to be getting really into it. Today we're going to be talking about how you can build out and start working with writing your own queries. This is what the last few videos have been all about. This is an incredible place that anyone who works with data, you need to know how to write a query. It is relatively simple to get started working in this. Don't get bogged down and think that this is just mumbo jumbo for the tech guys. 100% you can do this. SQL has been around for like 50 years now, or nearly 50 years, and it's been around for that long because it's so easy to use, so easy to learn, and so powerful when it comes to working with it. All right, before we head down to my laptop, smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment down below. Heck, share that with your family and friends, or turn on the alarms so you don't miss a single video that I publish. All right, but enough of that stuff. Let's head to my desktop. Okay, so hopefully you've been following along. You installed SQL Server, SQL Management Studio, Azure, AdventureWorks database. You watched the video where we talked about the different database objects that are out there, but now we want to get into actually writing a query. Now, when it comes to writing a query, each query comes into and addresses or has three different parts. All right, it has the select, it has the from, and it has the where. All right, so I am going to write my own query. So I have already connected to my server, I've connected to my database, and I clicked on new query. Here I can write an expression. I can say select star, which is everything, from DBO, which is my schema, and we'll say a dim account. All right, now, and I'm going to say where dbo.dim account dot type, or account type equals assets. But I want to limit it, so I'm going to do top 1000 F5. Now I can see all of the records, or at least 1,000 records, where the account type is assets. Okay. Now, when you write a query, I don't want you to think about just writing and selecting what fields you want, and then going through and doing your select, your from, and your where. I want you to change this up. All right. And the reason I want you to change this up is because databases operate and run efficiently by first creating a query plan, which is the database engine will look at what you've written and try to figure out the best way to access and provide that information back to you. And how every database operating system that I know of does this is by starting with what is in your from statement, evaluating that. Then it evaluates your where statement. So what have you limited your information on? And once it's done with that, and only once it's done with that, does it go to the select statement. Okay. So when you're writing a query, I want you to start with looking at and understanding from the table section first. And then I want you to look at a where clause, and then look at building out what it is you're exactly selecting. So I'm going to show you how you can do that right now. So I'm going to be looking at the DBO fact finance. So I'm going to be starting to construct this, and to start my construction, to start constructing my query, I like to always start with select top 1000. And then I do from. Now, when you do this, I want you to start your from statement starting with your fact table. And the difference between a fact and a dimension is the fact is going to have all of the additive values that you're looking at. A dimension table is going to have all of the descriptive values in it, okay? So I'm going to start with DBO fact finance, and then I'm going to do something, tricky here. I'm going to add in an alias. I'm going to say FF. FF. Okay. So what this allows me to do is I can, instead of always calling dbo.factfinance inside my query, if I need to reference the fact finance, I'm going to just do FF. Okay. I'm going to do FF, and then I'm going to say where FF dot amount is greater than 0. Now I've got my values here. I can run this guy, and I can see that I've got 1,000 records, and these are all the values where the amount is greater than 0. If I want to hone in, I could even change it to 100. So what am I doing there? And notice I can put many queries up inside my query pane here. If I hit F5 when I have 2 queries in here, it's going to produce 2 data sets below. The first data set being the values on top. The second data set being, that's down here, is the second query that's up here. Now, if I want to hone in on one over the other, I can highlight it. I can hit F5, and I can just see the values that are coming out of that query. One of the things I am going to continue to, or I will always recommend that you do some tips, is that when you start to define these values, you do so in a way that makes it easy for you as a developer or analyst to go back and make changes to it. So number one thing I like to make sure I always do is, as I'm writing a query, I like to make sure I'm using the appropriate white space. And this is something that I really like to do, is I really like to make sure that I'm breaking up my selection from where I put in my from statement and from my where statement. So each block of these big building blocks gets a carriage return in between, right? Because in this case, I'm saying select star, right, which will give me all of the values inside of the database. Now, select star is kind of a hacky way to do it. You don't necessarily always want to be doing a select star. In fact, you don't really want to do select stars. Select stars are bad, right? So it's better to explicitly define the values that you're looking at, and then run through, add in each of the elements that you're looking for. And I really, really highly recommend using a carriage return between each field, putting in a comma, and then having the next field. So have a comma at the front, not commas on the end. I'm going to show it to you why in just a second. And then we'll just do the amount. Now, in our previous video, we talked a lot about nvarchars and integers. In this case, we have an amount field, but we have a new data type. This amount field is a float. So a float data type basically means you could have any numbers before the decimal point and any amount of numbers after the decimal point. So if you're dealing with fractions or you're dealing with currencies, you're dealing with any of the above, the float is a good data type. Please keep in mind there is an upper bound on the number of digits in front of a float and the number of digits on the behind the decimal point as well. But generally speaking, you kind of can do whatever you really need to with a float data type. All right. In this case, I now have select top 1,000, but I've got this little arrow here that's giving me an issue, and this is indicating that there's an error. This little squiggly red line here. Now, this is giving an error because I've already have the select star, which is give me all the fields inside of the database. At select star, and then I start to list off these additional fields. Now, I can keep that going by breaking my rule of always having the comma on the end by putting that there, or, and I think this is actually better, is I comment out that that wildcard character. Now you can comment out in two different ways. The first way being the dash dash. Dash dash is a comment out indicator inside the TSQL language that says, hey, on this line that I'm working on, whatever follows next is just a comment. Don't include this inside of your parsing, and don't look at this when it comes to writing the query. Okay, so you can do dash dash and say this is an example of a comment. All right, that's one way to do a comment. Two different ways to do a comment. You've got the /* with a closing */. Many times this is considered a best practice, although this double dash is something that is used all the time. And in fact, if you highlight a record or a row in TSQL and you click on the comment button, it will just stick a dash dash at the front of that line. But by commenting this out, I can now run this query successfully. And I just pulled back the records that I was expecting to have here. That's your first basic query that you would write. These are some examples that you should find fairly easy to do. If you have questions, leave them down below. Happy to answer them. All right. Thank you guys so much for joining me. If you haven't already, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, leave a comment, all that good stuff. You guys have a great day. Peace.